LinkedIn has the best set of B2B targeting across all of the major platforms. I think it's the first one I go to, and we've released a video talking about all of the targeting options available on the platform in the past. But just like everything else in online marketing, things have changed. The targeting options have been updated. So in this video, we want to give you a full rundown of all of the LinkedIn ads targeting options available as of January 2022. I've gone ahead and created a staged campaign in our staging account so that we can run through all of the different targeting options. On LinkedIn, all targeting options live at the campaign level. So we're going to be in this one screen the whole time, and they're all pretty much in the exact same area. So they're all going to be focused in this audience section that's currently on the screen right now. The first couple of targeting options available are actually right up here next to the audience name. That's going to be saved audiences and LinkedIn audiences. The first one, saved audiences, is pretty simple. These are going to be audiences that you've used and built before and then saved. You'll see down here at the bottom of this audience section, if I scroll down far enough, there is the Save Audience button. So effectively, this is going to be similar to a Facebook saved audience where you can create an entire audience, click Save, and then it will be part of this drop-down anytime you want to use it. So here are a handful of different audiences that we've set up before for different accounts that we've used. Saved audiences are great if you utilize lots of complex targeting in your campaigns and you don't want to always have to recreate the audience each time you want to use it. This is a very easy way to be able to recall audiences that you've used before. The second audience section is going to be these LinkedIn audiences, and these are pretty cool. If I click on the drop-down, you can see here that each of these has a theme that we lean into. We can target members with a bachelor's degree, expertise in biotech, expertise in computer science. All of these are preset audiences that if you wanted to utilize anything that LinkedIn has already built for you, you can easily do that. If you need to target IT decision makers or people who are new to the job market, there's already an audience created for that. So before you jump in and build your own, it might be beneficial for you to check out what the LinkedIn preset audiences are. Okay, enough of that. Now let's get into how we actually build our own audiences. For that, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. The first option that we have here is for locations, and we get to choose any number of different regions around the world to target users on LinkedIn. If I click this pencil, you'll see here that we've defaulted to the United States. But the first option you get to choose is the type of location that they're in. It's either the recent or permanent location or the permanent location. So if you're trying to find people who live in a specific area, probably a good idea to focus on just permanent location. But if you're also open to anybody who has recently visited the country or city or state that you're trying to target, you can stick with the recent or permanent location. For now, I'm going to take off the United States just so we can get a list started here. So unlike before, LinkedIn does not start off with a checklist of countries. They just want you to start typing. I could type in Australia, and you'll see here that I have the option for Australia, New Zealand, but then there are individual regions and cities within Australia that I can start to target. So depending on where you are trying to reach users on LinkedIn, just start typing what you want, whether it's the city, state, country name, and it'll pop up, and then you just have to check the box next to it. I'm going to go ahead and check Australia here just so I don't have to look at that error for the rest of this video. You'll then also be able to exclude anybody based on their location. So if you want to target people within Australia but exclude a specific city or region, you can do that. All of the options for the exclusions for location targeting are going to be the same as they are for targeting. Since I started messing with the location targeting, it's now changed the way that the interface looks. So I'm going to come down here to the Who is your target section, and this is where we're going to spend pretty much the rest of the time on this video. So to start targeting specific people, I need to click this narrow button, and now the interface looks a little bit more like it did earlier. There are two key ways that you can target users on LinkedIn, and they're broken up by these first two brackets here. Audiences is going to mean anybody who is in a list that you have created. Think of these as, see over here, a retargeting list, a lookalike, a company or contact upload list, a third-party audience, something like a HubSpot list imported directly, or some other type of list. These all need to be taken care of in the matched audiences section of the LinkedIn interface. And rather than jump in there, I'm instead going to jump into the help article that is based on this Learn More About Matched Audiences section. This gives a pretty good overview of the types of audiences you can create on LinkedIn. So again, you can upload a list of companies or contacts if you already know individual users. You can then retarget people based on the page they visited on your website, if they viewed a video ad, they engaged with your company page, or opened and submitted a lead gen form, or if they engaged and RSVP'd for your LinkedIn event. Again, we also have the third-party system integrations and lookalike audiences available here. So if you want to target anybody based on these types of criteria, it's going to live in the first section under audiences in the platform. They're very easy to find. So this is a placeholder account, so nothing's going to be up to date. But if I just click on retargeting, I'll then click on website because that is one audience we have created here. And you'll see here it's archived, but to opt into an audience, all you have to do is check the box, and then your forecasting results will change to reflect how many users are in that section. But since this list is archived, it's not going to do anything. So I'll just uncheck that and then head back to the beginning. The second major category of audiences are going to be the audience attributes. So these are going to be all targeting types that are not based on an audience that you have already created. If I click on this, you'll see that there are 5 main categories. We're going to go through each of them. I will try to give enough of an overview without spending too terribly much time, otherwise this video could be hours long. The first set of attributes lets you target users on LinkedIn based on information about their company. So if I click on this, you can see there are a number of different sections here, and there are even some that are hidden down below. So let's go through each of these. The company category is defined as the category that a company falls into. They're defined based on publications and industry lists that fall into specific market segments. So if I click on this section, you might start to recognize some of these names. The first one is the World's Most Innovative Companies list from Forbes. We've got the Fortune 100 fast-growing companies, Fortune 1000, 500, Global 500, and then there are a number of different LinkedIn news editors' top companies based on country levels, and news editors' top startups. So if your companies fall into these categories and you're interested in targeting these users, you can do that. I remember one of the ways that we used to target people was the Fortune 500 list, and we had to upload a company contacts list to get there. Now there's just a checkbox, and it's very easy to opt into this. The next section under company is going to be company connections, and these will reach the first degree connections of employees at the companies you select. So you're not targeting the employees who work at a specific company, you are targeting the first degree connections of those employees. So if that's something interesting to you, you can utilize this company connections piece. All companies will only be available here if they have over 500 users available. So think of the big names like Nike, McDonald's, Walmart. Lots of different companies have over 500 employees. You can target their first degree connections on here if that would be beneficial for you. Next is the company follower of section, and this allows you to reach the followers of your company page. This could be either your personal company page where you work, or if you work on other companies' accounts, either as a freelancer or as an agency, you'll be able to target them based on that company's page as well. This is effectively like targeting your page-like audience on Facebook. The only thing is that your ads account must be associated with your company page to leverage this type of targeting option. Next is going to be growth rate, which is pretty cool. It talks about the numbers of employees based on their LinkedIn profiles. So you can target companies that have negative growth, anything up to 20 plus growth. And this just means that the organizations had 20% plus growth in the employee rate based on the LinkedIn profile over the past year. So if you're trying to find companies that are growing or specifically companies that are not growing, this is a great way to reach them. We've only got a few more in this company section, and they're relatively simple. Next is industries, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Just depends on what industry you're trying to reach users in. It could be construction, which then has subcategories in it, or it could be the arts. Again, more subcategories. There's a lot of different industries you can target people on just based on how the company they work for is categorized. Look through this list, see if anything makes sense to you. Next is going to be the easiest one. This is company names. This means targeting people who work at specific companies. So again, you're not targeting the connections of those employees, you're actually targeting the people who work at specific companies. So if you're trying to come up with an account-based marketing strategy, this is likely the way that you would want to go. And the last two on here are revenue and company size. So the revenue information is just going to be based on how much revenue the company earned the previous year. So you can target anybody from under $1 million all the way up to $1 billion plus. I believe all of this is generated just based on public information. If you're trying to target people who have a specific amount of revenue, you can start to do that. These lists are relatively inflexible. There's only 5 options, but who knows? Maybe you're just really into the 10 to 100 million revenue company size. And then the last one is going to be based on actual company size, which is determined based on employee count. So you can see that it's going to be either myself only, 2 to 10 employees, all the way up these different ranges to 10,001 plus employees. So depending on what type of company size you're looking for, that's going to be the best group that you can go after. Now I went through those each pretty specifically because they're the only section where you can target users based on the company that they work for. The remaining 4 categories are going to be based exclusively on the user themselves, and it's not going to be based on the company that they work for. So the first group here is going to be demographics. You can target people based on their age and gender. Again, these are going to be just options that you can check into, and I believe you still have to check a non-discriminatory box that says that you will not discriminate based on people's age or gender. So if you need to focus only on users who are older, or if you're trying to target only men, this is going to be the best way to do it. But overall, I think that this type of targeting probably isn't as valuable on LinkedIn as it is on other platforms where you might be more targeting to D2C type of products as opposed to business to business type of solutions. Next is going to be the education section, and this is going to be based on the user's degrees, field of study, or member schools. So if we come over here and check out the degrees, you basically just get to start typing in things and see what comes up. That's going to be how most of these education sections are. For field of study, again, you can determine if you wanted them to study economics or marketing or business. You just have to simply search and see what comes up. And the last one is going to be member schools. So this is going to be the same sort of thing. What university did they go to? What school did they go to? What type of educational material do they have associated with their LinkedIn profile? Come in here, search for it, and you'll be on your way. Anything based on education I've seen work best if you're trying to recruit new users for a job opportunity and they need to have some level of education in the field beforehand. Or it could also be very useful if you want to make sure you're advertising a call to action, maybe a white paper or an industry report, to somebody who can actually read that industry report. We'll get into job experience and their interests and traits here in just a minute, but the education level and their field of study could also be useful to make sure that whatever call to action or asset you're putting in front of them, they can actually read, digest, and understand. Next is going to be focused on job experience. Here we're starting to get into the user's job history and based on different things that they've done for their job and how their jobs are categorized on LinkedIn. So the first is going to be their job function. And this is based on common tasks or activities undertaken within their job position. So if I click on this, you can see that they have a number of different high-level types of categories that can be done within pretty much any company. Somebody could be in the accounting department, administrative, business development, consulting. There's lots of different groups available in here. Engineering, finance, legal, marketing, operations. Any of these are going to be different functions that people can fulfill within a company. So if you know that you're trying to target somebody who is in purchasing, for example, if you know you're trying to target them, this would be a great targeting option to use to narrow down to just those folks who are in the purchasing area of a company, even if other aspects of their LinkedIn profile might not lend them to be as easily found, like job title or something like that. The next targeting option we have under job experience is going to be the seniority. What is their rank within the company for that role? Are they unpaid? Are they an entry-level person? Are they a senior, manager, director, all the way up to the VP, the partner and owner of the company, or the CXO? CXO effectively means they can be the CEO, the COO, the CFO, all the different types of C something O suite within a company. CXO is not necessarily a specific thing, but just tells you these are going to be the people at the C level within a company. These can be helpful if you're trying to find somebody who is a decision maker or somebody who is middle management. You can kind of utilize these in a linear fashion to know kind of who's at the bottom of the totem pole, all the way up to who owns the company and who really decides what's going on there. The next option is going to be focused on job titles. This is a very popular type of targeting on LinkedIn because people love targeting based on job titles. It's easy to find the right types of folks. If you want to find a vice president of marketing, you just have to start typing it in. And the list will come up, so you can check the box next to vice president of marketing and business development, strategic marketing, and worldwide marketing. There are a number of different job titles associated with just VP of marketing. The only drawback or hesitations that I would say about job title targeting is that, one, because they are so common, people like to use them a lot, they're also very expensive. They are one of, if not the most expensive type of targeting on LinkedIn. So know that if you use job titles, you're probably going to be paying a premium as opposed to using other types of targeting. And the second is that there are many people who have uncommon job titles. I've seen job titles that simply do not fit into any of the categories that LinkedIn has. They do try and bucket them appropriately based on the words and the context, that sort of thing. But if somebody has a really silly job title, they're probably not going to find their way into the list the way you'd want it to be. And then lastly, as you can see here, I typed in a specific job title and it gave me just a checkbox of different job titles to utilize. I can't type in some of those funky job titles or even ones that are slightly off and find everything that I want on here. Although they are very popular and can help you find the right folks, you're not always going to have 100% coverage through just job title targeting. Okay, that's enough of the caveats for job titles. Let's hop back into job experience and go through the last two sections here. The first is going to be member skills, which are different areas of expertise that people have based on the skills and endorsements section of their profile, skills mentioned in their profile text, or inferred based on the other information in their profile. So if we click on member skills, it'll be the same type of thing here, but you can see some examples where you have to just start typing the types of skills you want somebody to have, and it'll hopefully show up in your list. If you need somebody to be proficient at Microsoft Excel or project management or program management, just start typing those in, as you can see the examples here, and see what pops up. And the last is going to be the years of experience. And this is going to be based on the years of professional experience they've accumulated over their career. So any gaps in the experience are not counted, and they don't double count overlapping positions. So this is going to be a pretty easy drop down here that we can use, saying that somebody has either 1 year up to any number of years on the low end and up to 12 plus years experience. So if you want somebody to have had at least 4 years experience, but you're happy to have more than that, here's how you would set that up. Again, I'm going to remove this just because we don't need it, and then start to hop back. So rather than job experience, now we're going to move down to the last section down here, which is going to be interests and traits. And this is going to be different from skills insofar as we are targeting people based on their direct or inferred interests, traits, or professional groups they may belong to on the platform. So let's click into this. And now there are 3 different ways that we can target people. The first is probably my favorite, is based on member groups, and you effectively just get a text box to where you can start typing in different group names and target people based on the groups that they're a part of. So let's just say I want to target people who are looking into finance. Now you can start to see all these different groups that have popped up. And if I want to see information about it, this tells me that Finance Club has 1.5 million users around the world. And then each of these different groups, you just hover over the question mark, and it'll tell you how many members are associated with it. So if you wanted to target all the people who are in this finance job seekers group, you could target all 69,000 of them. Groups are a great way to try and overcome some of the overuse of job title or job function targeting, because people usually opt into groups on LinkedIn that have something to do with their job, and they're trying to learn from other people who are in a similar space. So groups can be a good way to find users based on things that they're probably thinking about while also at work that don't have to be quite as expensive as those job title areas. Aside from member groups, the next one we had was going to be interests. And these are going to be broken into general or product interests. So let's go into general first. Now we can start seeing that these look relatively similar to a number of the industries that were there. So if they're interested in sales and retail, tech, all that, you can check the box next to technology. Or, if I can get that stupid pop-up to go away, you can click into the technology space and you'll see that there are different categories of artificial intelligence, biotech, computer software, and again, there are further categories here, so you can find lots of different interests that people have. So overall, these are going to be based on just the information that they digest on LinkedIn. Overall, it's relatively general based on the name. And then the second option we have here is going to be on product interests. And here's where you can start to find people based on their experience on the platform. Are they looking for cloud security software, collaboration software, human resources software, sales, shipping software? Lots of different software options that you can find on here. But if they're looking for these things and LinkedIn already has them categorized and you sell accounting software, this is probably a pretty great section of people to try and target. Okay, we're coming close to the end here. Let's hop back into interests and traits, and we're going to go over traits, which is going to be the last group that we have here. These are going to be based on different traits people have, like if they're a frequent traveler, they use a desktop, or if they're open to education. So if we click in here, these are going to be more of the preset options, but we can see people who are making career changes, expats, frequent contributors, travelers, job seekers, all these different options here. These are pretty cool. Recently promoted, recently relocated, or recently switched jobs. And there are different subcategories within a number of these. So recently located, you can see people who relocated to a similar domestic job or somebody who relocated to a new international job. Lots of different categories that we can have here. And then again, device preferences is something that took a very long time to get on the LinkedIn platform. So if you're trying to target people based on the devices that they prefer to use, you can find the laptop and desktop users as well as mobile users. Now, in my experience, this does not translate directly to targeting people just on mobile devices versus desktop and laptop users, but it does help to narrow down based on the different types of platforms that people have. So if somebody's on Linux, Mac versus Windows, you can set up those different targeting options. And the same thing would be true for the mobile users. You can target people who prefer Android as opposed to any type of Apple device, which is interesting that they have the subset of Mac for desktop, but they don't for mobile. Test out these different device preferences and see if they help out the way that you really want them to. To close out this video, there are just 2 additional things that we have here. So we just went through all the targeting options based on audiences and the attributes that we can use. Any of those are also available to be part of an excluded group. If you saw any of these that you thought, okay, I would really like to target somebody who has this job experience, but I don't want to target somebody who's in this member group, you can use that group to exclude somebody in the exact same way that you would have targeted them in this upper section here. So any of these options are also available for exclusion. And the last piece is going to be this audience expansion. Effectively, this is going to let LinkedIn reach people similar to your target audience based on the attributes that they have, like job titles, companies, or skills, but they weren't explicitly included as a part of the criteria that you have here. Think of the different job title things that I talked about, where not every single job title is going to fit perfectly within the different categories LinkedIn has. Audience expansion can help you find people who have those similar job titles who don't really fall into the same bucket, but it's also still reaching outside of the target audience that you've set up. In some accounts, I see audience expansion working really well. In others, not so much. I think it's more a function of the type of call to action that you have, the type of industry you're trying to target, the different users at different companies can behave differently. Audience expansion is not something I would categorically say is a good thing or a bad thing, but maybe keep it off for launching new campaigns. And if you're seeing good performance and you can't think of anything else to add, but you want to grow the reach that you have, maybe check the enable audience expansion, test it for a little while, see if your results are good, and then adjust your campaigns from there. Overall, LinkedIn has made a number of different targeting adjustments since the last time we made a video about this, which is why we're making a new one, and their targeting options just keep getting better. I know specifically that revenue is a targeting option that a lot of the accounts I work on constantly ask about because that's how they translate company size to me. It's not usually based on employee counts. It's usually based on the amount of revenue that companies are bringing in. So when my clients come to me and tell me we need to target based on revenue, now I can start to do that on the LinkedIn platform. As I mentioned in that section, there's only 5 options. It's relatively limited, but it's better than nothing, and it's probably going to keep getting better. So hopefully this run through has gotten you just as excited about all the LinkedIn targeting options as I am for using them on my client accounts. But if I missed anything or I didn't explain something fully and you have any questions or any comments about the targeting options, absolutely share those in the comments because we'd love to hear how we can make these videos better. Thanks for watching our video. If you thought it was useful, give us a thumbs up below.
We release a new video at least once a week, so if you want to get notified of when a new one comes out, be sure to subscribe to the Paid Media Pros channel.